back to the shed and MV Zephyrus and on to the next exciting round of things we're going to do with it. This large piece of plywood on my left is Sapili 1/2-inch mahogany plywood, and I'm going to use it as well as some genuine full solid mahogany that we brought back from Port Townsend to make all new steps. First for the companionway from the entrance here, and then from the aft cabin up into the wheelhouse. If you're here last week and we put the new sole down in the aft cabin, well, we need correspondingly beautiful steps, do we not? Okay, let's look at what we're up to here. Lady Zephyrus has very wisely covered her beautiful new sole with a runner that may or may not be here permanently. Who's to say? It's obviously too big. Okay, so at the forward end here, you can see I have modified the steps with some legs because I can no longer screw them into the sole. This is where Lady Zephyrus keeps her toolbox and her dog food. There's also an outlet here which currently has a CO2 sensor or something on it. Anyway, that outlet will end up inside the box that the steps are in, so that she can plug in her vacuum cleaner or other assorted things. Other than that, this end is pretty straightforward. The new stairs won't have a big outside stringer like this. It'll be a box with lift up treads, and the bottom one will lift up to access, I believe, dog food, and the top one and other sorts of things. What I'll do though, I'm going to build it right from this panel to this panel, so there's no sort of voids around here anymore, and the tread will come to about 1.5 inches or so from the edge, and then that's where it'll hinge up. The remainder will be permanently attached to these side bulkheads. The reason for that is it's continuous. In other words, there's no voids and places for stuff to fall down, but the whole box has to be very quickly removable to access, well, panels that have to come up from the sole or other sorts of things that we need to work on. So that's the plan back here. Let's go aft and look at the other one. In many ways, very, very similar. This one opens up to reveal the fuel selector valves. In other words, Zephyrus has 2 fuel tanks, so you can select fuel to the engine from either tank, and you can return it to either tank. So these have to be easily accessible from the top step, which will open up. Also, you may have noticed there's an outlet in there, and I believe the outlet is going to stay inside, but I'm gonna figure that out. Okay, we have a nicely varnished work table now due to some work I did here last week. Today I'm sporting the Wooden Boat Experience t-shirt, which I just found in the bottom of my t-shirt box. This is Scott Odekirk, who those of you who've been watching for a long time know is the fellow that built the absolutely beautiful stained glass lit window that I put on Geordie, with the image of Geordie on it. Anyway, I'll show it to you. Yeah, isn't it gorgeous? Anyway, go check out what Scott's up to these days. He's an amazing fellow. Okay, let's get to work. All right then, well, I've done a little bit of figuring. You can probably recognize the basic shape of the steps there. 2 steps, and this is the plywood parts, and the fronts, and the backs, and the mids, and all that. And I always lay it out on a sheet of plywood to make sure I have enough wood. And well, I didn't quite, so this piece here, which is the back, is actually going to be made out of 1/4-inch Sapili mahogany, and I have a piece of that. So, okay, time for some big rips. Okay, let's do this the hard way. are coming along nicely. You may have noticed that I used all those pocket fasteners to hold this and this on, because these are the risers, and I don't want any fasteners exposed here. I could have obviously screwed and put bungs, but because this is plywood with a very, very thin veneer, it's not likely I could have sanded the bungs without causing some damage. So this works out quite nicely. So this will be visible, this will be visible. The rest of it is inside the cabinet, and there'll be little false extra risers and treads over permanently attached to both side bulkheads so that the center section can always lift right out. Okay, now for structure, of course the tread is going to go on here, and because it's going to open up, I'm going to put it on a hinge, and that hinge will stick out, oh, I don't know, about 1.5 inches. And the reason I don't put the hinge right at the back is because then when you lift it, it'll hit the nosing of the one above and it'll drive you nuts. It won't stay up. So because this is actually going to be used for dog food, I believe, having it open, a little bit less will be just fine. Now, along with structure, when you step on this tread, your weight will land right on here. This is a rather large span for a tread, although it's actually about exactly the same as the current steps in the boat, so it's certainly not going to fail. But in the ones in the boat, they only had side stringers, no risers. So I'll get a lot of structure out of this, and I'm going to put a little ledger in right here, right now, that will carry the back edge of that via the piano hinge. So I think they'll be very, very solid steps. Again, another ledger here because this thin 1/4 inch plywood doesn't carry a lot of strength. I want to show you guys something that Lady Zephyrus is up to up here. We're talking meticulous boat detailing. Can I get by here, Finn? The forward swoops on Zephyrus are actually convex rather than concave on some boats. Anyway, on Geordie they go the other way. But anyway, she's working on this here, and this is teak. And this split here had been a trouble for years. In fact, you can see a Dutchman up in there just barely, and this great big bung that the grain was put in at 90 degrees, and this big split. That has been a chronic problem, and this was all black not 15 minutes ago. What did you do about that?
Oxalic acid.
It really works, right?
Yeah, I've used it a lot on wood, and I've taken huge stains off of wood.
Really?
The thing about it is that it does bleach the wood, so it's a little bit different than places that you don't. I just surgically put it in around there.
Exactly. Well, you did a great job.
And you have to use oxalic, the crystals in hot water.
Exactly. There's your little batch up there, is it?
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, what we're going to end up doing here, the royal we.
Yeah,
What Lady Zephyrus is going to do here, we're actually going to stain this because we're going to experiment with more dark wood, more stained wood. In fact, Poem is completely stained, so that's really what we're going to do. But we also have to deal with that big split. So what we're going to do after it's stained is get some CPS, some clear penetrating epoxy sealant in there, and make sure that is sealed, sealed, sealed. Of course, we can't do that before or it won't take stain properly. Cool. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so these extra stringers are to carry the extra little bits of the tread and risers that exists against the bulkhead here. So you'll see what I mean in just a second. Hang on. Hang on there, Finny Foo. Oh, that's a good looking floor. Okay, so this will go against here. The only problem is this little bit of base in here. So I'm just going to make a little mark on there, and we'll rip a little bit of that off so that there's no... from about there. And I got a similar situation with this piece of trim back here, so that deals with that. Now you may be able to see this propane hose that actually goes up to the heater right here. Well, I'm simply going to ignore that, and I'm going to bring the whole step forward an inch so that it just sits in a void, and this top tread will be an inch wider to deal with it. Rather than trying to reroute it, we thought it might put through the engine bay or something. It's just not worth it. And I'll cut a hole in the back of the step box to accommodate this plug so that you can plug something in the box. Okay, then let's see how this fits in here. Beauty. Beauty, 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 beauty. Okay, so the aft end is significantly more complex, mainly because of the big fuel manifold here. As I mentioned earlier, these right there are the 2 fuel tanks on this boat. They're new and beautiful. And I redid all the fuel lines a couple of years ago, and these are the 2 selectors, one for supply and one for return. And you need to be able to get at these relatively easily, so it'll be great. It'll just be inside this top step. But I do have to cut out a section of the back, of course, to accommodate this. And that's pretty straightforward. But what's more complex is that the 2 sides here are paneled. They're paneled, in other words, so that they have a trim in both directions, and it's a bit sophisticated how these all sit. So getting the steps to fit in here just the way I want is a little bit complex. This one is especially complex because it's a sliding panel. Technically, this one never opens, but it's still there. So, and of course, on top of that, we have this lovely floating outlet, which will go. I'm not sure yet. Okay, to get started, a little cutaway for that wire, and this side will be relatively straightforward. I think I'm just going to sit it right on the trim because it sits on the trim neatly in every direction, and then that way, as I put in the extra treads and stuff, I'll just trim them in around that. So that side's pretty straightforward. Okay, so I have an idea for over here. Because this is a door, I think I'll just attach this to the door and it'll just move with it. I don't see any reason not to do that. Yeah, I don't know. Well, this aft step took some pretty severe cutout to be able to fit around this fuel and the outlet down here, but I think I've got it just about exactly where I want it now. Tack it. Okay. All right. Well, this is going actually substantially better than I thought it might. It's kind of a wild idea, and it's working out really well. Oh, we've got so many little projects going on today and this week. I think the final coat of filler is on the cabin sides, so that will be fairly soon. And I just put 2 ounces plus of CPES into this tiny crack that we talked about before. This little crack has been giving us fits for the last few years, and I think I finally got it sealed, but I'll probably try to get a little more into that another time. Look at the fantastic stain work that Lady Zephyrus did on here. I think that's going to be just perfect. It'll match what's going on further back really, really, really well. Okay, so I'm going to sand down the entire cabin sides. I've removed the lights and the doors and the cowl vents, and in preparation for new paint all the way down the side. And of course, next week we're also going to get to this drip rail. That's why we haven't bothered with it, and I showed it to you the other day that this one has really failed, and it's probably simple at this point to make a new one. Look how gorgeous all the bright work is going on in here. Really, really, really amazing. Okay, let's get some finish on these. All right, well that wraps up that. Oh my gosh, I am so pleased with this. We are going to carry on next week with the treads and all the little extra bits, as well as bonding down the rest of the sole in the aft cabin that we started last week. And of course, we still have to do the entire sole in the wheelhouse, and we have to get that all done next week because we got to get out of here. Anyway, I'm loving it. And if you're loving it, how about sticking around and subscribing? Love to have you. And if you really, really love it, give it a thumbs up or maybe a share to that friend of yours who would also like it. And of course, for those of you who love it, love it, love it, please consider supporting the show through Patreon or PayPal. Links are down below. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks ever so much. See you next week. Hello there and welcome to the Travels with Geordie Beer of the Week, coming to you this week from the cozy aft cockpit of MV Poem in downtown Victoria on this beautiful hot sunny day. We have the umbrella up because it is definitely hot. Look at you in your summer hat. Let's deal with this heat with a beer.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell the folks at home about what we're drinking today?
Yes, this would be the Gladstone Brewing Pilsner, and it's a that's pretty much all it says.
That's all it says. And where is Gladstone Brewing from?
It's from Courtney, BC.
Courtney, BC. All right, we've never had this, and okay. Oh, well done. Cheers to this fabulous life we live. I don't think I'm a Pilsner drinker.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
but I mean, it's not terrible.
It's actually growing on me. It's not bad at all. All right. Well, we need to give away a t-shirt to last week's winner of a Travels with Geordie t-shirt, and they are
Tom LPDX.
Tom LPTX.
LPDX.
Congratulations. Get a hold of us by sending an email off to swag@travelswithgeordie.com, and we'll make sure you get your shirt. Also would like to really thank a couple new Patreons. Very, very welcome. Finn MacArthur. Now I Wikipedia'd your name. It might also be pronounced Fionn, but I'm going to go with Finn as we have a Finn in our little community. So Finn MacArthur, thank you very much, as well as Mark McMaster. Cheers to you both. Let me hand you back your beer. Are you going to have another sip?
Sure.
Excellent. Cheers to you both, and thank you so much for coming aboard. And off the Amazon wish list. Now this is long overdue because, well, I lost it. All right, this is a super nice clothesline, extended clothesline.
I'm super excited.
I know, and we asked for this and got this months ago, and we've been draping laundry over various places. So this is going to be really nice. And look, it's in bronze.
And it's so pretty.
It's really quite nice. Has a nice little hook for it, which I do have. Anyway, worked out very, very nice. Thank you ever so much to whoever it was that sent this. It came with no indication of who you are, so if you'd like to let us know, please, we'll thank you properly. Also, in actual bronze, look at this beautiful shell vent. I mean, this is an absolute gem. This is actually a genuine Wilcox Crittenden, which is the finest name in bronze. Anyway, this was also sent to us anonymously. No, really, this is lovely stuff.
I know, it's great.
Around the time that I put the two vents in for the holding tank here on Poem, so you find individual obviously was going to help us out with that. Let us know who you are and we can thank you properly. This is the most beautiful shell or cowl vent I have ever seen. Thank you ever so much. All right, all we need now is a word for the folks at home. And because I did promise last week, being Canada Day, we would honor our good friends to the south with their big day this last week.
Independence.
Independence shall be the word of the week. You know what to do with it. We'll see you next week. Cheers.
Cheers.
He's such a good boy. He's such a good boy. Look at this good boy. He's been good.